has anything? Any suggestions? This is directed to the former cult members. Has anyone experienced conflict within the family regarding a desire to seek revenge, sue the cult, or contact police? In other words, has there been some conflict about any of that taking action?
I certainly haven't had any conflict within my family. At the one point when I did think that I wanted to sue the cult, my family was very supportive in telling me that I should do whatever it is that I want to do. However, I think that was basically a brief phase of my recovery, and then I realized that the best way to really help people and to get back at the cult is to do exactly what I'm doing. And obviously my family supports me in those efforts also.
I never had a conflict about it. My parents were looking to get back at Scientology long before I was, in fact. I never had the opportunity to sue because the first year I was out, I just kind of, wanted to leave it alone, and then the statute of limitations ran out by the time I started speaking out against it, so I never really had the opportunity to sue. But my parents were speaking out against it and going on TV shows, radio shows, newspaper interviews, and it's actually a good thing that they did, because if they didn't do it, I probably would not have had the courage to do it. I started taking a stand against it because I saw how courageous my parents were being, and that gave me the confidence to do the same thing. So we're actually very united here. There's no conflict.
The conflict really isn't toning us down.
This question points out that both families seem to be of the Jewish faith. Will you affirm in your beliefs prior to entering the cult, and also have you returned to your faith?
Yes, I was very firm in my beliefs prior to being in CUT, and CUT, their beliefs are obviously very antithetical to Judaism, and I was extremely distorted and confused when I came out, and I immediately started studying with a rabbi, and 4 years later it's still something that I continue to do now because I enjoy it, not so much because I feel that it's something that I need to do. I also tried, I felt like I needed to incorporate Judaism into my daily life and tried various methods of doing that. But as I became stronger as an individual, the ways that I do that have changed also.
I actually was very involved in the Jewish religion prior to Scientology. I was a Reform Jew, so if you don't know about Judaism, there's different sects of it, and Reform would be the most liberal. So it's not like I was raised with strict religious beliefs, but I did have a religious upbringing. I went to Hebrew school when I was younger. I was bar mitzvahed. After I was bar mitzvahed, when most kids stopped going to Hebrew school, I actually continued going to Hebrew school even after my bar mitzvah, all the way up to confirmation. And then after confirmation, I started working as a teacher's assistant in my Hebrew school. I was involved in my temple youth groups during that whole time period, and I also won some religious awards. When I was in the Cub Scouts, I won the Aleph Award, which is the Jewish religious award for Cub Scouts, and then later on when I was in the Boy Scouts, I won the Ner Tamid Award, which is the Jewish religious award for the Boy Scouts. So I did have a religious education. And when I got into Scientology, that kind of, I think probably maybe a little before Scientology, I wasn't going to temple as much, because I left home and I was in college, so there was I was away from my temple, and I was away from the friends that I had made in temple, so I just really didn't make it a priority. And when I got out of Scientology, I became somewhat cynical, and even now, if you ask me, I would probably say I'm Jewish, but in reality, I have more agnostic beliefs, and I'm very scientific oriented. I basically need proof if you're going to try to convince me of something. That's what my beliefs are rooted in.
Yeah, the next question really is, I'm not sure any of the panel members can answer, but we can seek their opinions. It points out, or the question is, why does Scientology have so many actors involved, and why is CNN doing a PR job for Scientology? So, please.
Has anybody ever noticed the Dianetics commercials on CNN? They're making a lot of money. And as far as the celebrities, that's for legitimacy. When I was in the organization, there were times when I had doubts, when I would be thinking, is this really a good thing? And then I realized, well, Kirstie Alley's doing this. And Kirstie Alley was on Cheers. Cheers was still on the air at that point, and Kirstie Alley was famous, and she was successful. And I figured, well, if Kirstie Alley's doing it, and John Travolta's doing it, and Priscilla Presley's doing it, it can't be that bad. The media would have exposed it by now, right? It's a way of gaining legitimacy, makes it easier to recruit people and make it seem like it's not such a bad deal. And I don't know what CNN's motives are, except that there's probably some money behind it. And the media, historically has been somewhat irresponsible, not just on the cult issue, but with all issues. The media is generally, irresponsible when it comes to a lot of things.
I just want to point out, if anybody saw that, just think about how they did that story, and think about how they're doing all the other stories, how much information you're not getting about other things.
On this business of celebrities, I don't think, and we all know how bad Scientology is, but I didn't think how bad it was until we were talking to a friend, and she was helping this boy who's dyslexic, and he said he wanted to join Scientology because Tom Cruise said that joining Scientology is cured his dyslexia. So it really can be pretty bad with the celebrities.